Well, hello and welcome back to the garden, everybody. If you're new here, my name is Brandon, and I grow things in Southeast Texas, Zone 9B to be exact, just east of Houston. And one of the things that I grow is these, but here's a better view of them. So these are Tithonia diversifolia, aka giant Bolivian sunflower, I believe, Mexican sunflower, a relative of the red variety that more people probably know than this one. And there are many reasons why I grow things. But this one I picked up as cuttings that I purchased on eBay after watching lots of YouTube videos of people growing these to use them as a biomass thing. Basically, the goal is to take all of these nice green shoots and whack yourself in the face with them. No. It's to take these green shoots and toss them on the ground and basically use them as a mulch. And all of this green material is able to break down and put nutrients into the soil as well. I believe you can use this plant for food for animals, so rabbits and such. And I think it's edible by people as well, but I don't eat it. I don't really do very much of that. Most of the time I just let it grow. You can see here they become very large plants, at least 12 feet tall, sometimes taller. And I just pruned this piece here to show the flowers. I actually pruned it a few hours ago, so it's a little bit wilted, but my gimbal wasn't charged when I went to record this video, and so I had to wait a little bit for that. Now what I want to show today is kind of how I've been using these plants. Like I said, for one, I just kind of love having them here. I like growing things, and this is a really cool plant to grow. So let's talk a little bit about how they grow. So I've got many of these in the garden because they're exceedingly easy to propagate. But at this time of the year, I'm getting ready to cut a bunch of them down. Now, they can make it through a winter here. We don't have the harshest winters in Zone 9B, but we do get a few freezes typically in early spring. And so you've got to plan a little bit if you want to grow these year to year. Now, I did have more of them come back from the roots than I did the year before, but I have a feeling that's because the ones that I had planted up here had more of the nodes actually down at the soil level, and so they were able to grow back from those nodes hanging out at the ground, which is the area that's least likely to freeze. So I had a bunch of these come back, but they're very easy to propagate. In fact, I didn't originally grow those ones where I first started this video on purpose. Those came about because I threw chunks of the plants from over here into that area and they grew there. Same thing with the elderberries that are over there. Is that during the year they will tend to break and fall over in any kind of heavy winds that we get. So I'm always having to come over here and do pruning. Like right now, this piece right here is kind of going up into the weeping willow. So I'm going to take this down. And they're just coming into bloom. I didn't mention this, but their bloom time is actually the fall. So none of this was here in the springtime. The root base was down there. And like I said, I believe this individual was just came up from branches that I threw on the ground here. But all of this will come up during the year and they will bloom like you see them now. And oh, here's a little clip, by the way, of them blooming on the other side of the fence in my neighbor's property. I'm partially leaving those there just from a neighbor to enjoy, but usually I'll cut back things that are growing over the fence as much as I can. But they are very, very beautiful and definitely an enjoyable plant, but because the wood is so weak and our winds can be so high during certain times of the year, this is a plant that I may not grow too much of in the future. However, I do want to show you guys what I grow it for besides just building the soil, because having plants like this just releasing sugars into the soil through their roots does help to change the soil in an area. For instance, this whole area along the fence here was just a clay pit whenever we first moved in. There was no grass really growing here. It was a dog run area. And over the years, and this is, by the way, today or this week is the 4-year anniversary of purchasing this property and getting to work on doing what I'm doing here. But this whole area was just a wasteland. Most of the yard was. It was either grass or it was a mud pit. This was the mud pit area, and now this is one of the most fertile areas of the garden. And honestly, it's one of my favorite areas. I call it the feeding zone because down here below the really tall plants, underneath all of the mulch that I lay down here in the form of plant biomass, not bagged mulch from the store, but just plant biomass, I will rake it back and put my food scraps down there, and then you'll see all the little ground roaches and isopods and things coming over here to eat it, and then the lizards will come to eat the roaches and isopods, and it's just a really ecologically beautiful area of the garden, even though it's not the most visually beautiful area in the garden. But I would like to show you guys how I process these. Now, in the beginning, before I got my mulcher, which I'm going to finally show you guys today, what I was doing was I was using these, my hand pruners, electric hand pruners. Now you could prune this stuff with regular hand pruners, but it's a lot easier to do with the electrics. And so what I would do, let me get you guys a little closer. This was definitely not the best method, and so I'm not going to do this for very much of this, but boyfriend and I had the most fun, that's sarcasm, I think last year in the fall, or after Hurricane Beryl, basically what we would do is we would just start at one end. Actually, I would hold it like this. And I would just basically run along the edges and make these little chunks of material, and then I just tossed it as a mulch in an area. But I'm about to show you my upgraded version and the version that I can't live without now. I really love this machine I'm about to show y'all, so let's go dig it out of the shed. All right, so this here is my electric wood chipper or wood chewer. I don't know what to call it, but I love this thing. And this video is not necessarily going to be a review of this machine, but the name is clearly there, and I'll tell you a little bit about how it works versus other wood chippers. But other than that, I'm not going to get too much into the details. We're just going to show how I process the material that I cut, and then that's going to be it. I'm going to show you how I use it. That's pretty simple. And then we may talk about a few other things in this video, but I just needed to record something, so I figured I would just kind of close my eyes and point in a direction, and we would start there. So I'm gonna run this around and hook it up, and then we're gonna see how it works. Spoiler alert, it works pretty well. Okay, so we're about almost set up and ready. I just have to plug this thing in, so I'm not gonna go over every little safety precaution and such about this machine. Like I said, this is not really a review of the machine, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So this is the Sunjo, supposedly quiet wood chipper. What makes this a little bit different from other ones, like almost every other one, this one is actually fairly unique, is that this one actually kind of chews and cuts the material into little chunks. And most other wood chippers shred the material with spinning blades that spin at very, very high speed. If I were to open this up and show you, and I don't think I can be convinced to do that right now, it actually has a big cylinder type blade, and it spins slowly and chews the material as it pulls it down into the machine, and then it drops out the bottom into, oh, guess who it is? It's our friend, the storage tote. It's one of my favorite garden tools, for reals. So yeah, that's where I collect my chips, and then, well, I've left the material over there. As you might be able to see, I know you can see a little bit of it, I do have some other material here prepared as well. So we'll just chip this up real quick first. I usually mix everything. I don't worry about separating different kinds of materials. But here's how loud it is. So you may notice that I threw my glasses on for this portion of the video. You know, you should probably wear safety glasses. And I would say that this is one of the probably safer type wood chippers that you can use. But the one thing I will say was a little dangerous about this one is that if certain materials go in here, really dry branches or branches that are kind of angular, I have had it kind of spit them back out at me, or throw them around violently and, you know, try to hit me. So usually straight material like this is going to be best for sticking in this thing, but it really does just, let me show you, turn this into a lovely spreadable material. Now I will say that one downside is that the little chunks, they're kind of big, especially for bigger diameter branches, and they can be a little bit like Legos to step on out in the garden. So that's just something to consider. I try to be careful, number one, about collecting everything. Sometimes the bucket will kind of sit a little bit off and it'll go onto the ground below. So I do try to collect everything and make sure that I spread this material where it's not going to be too easily dragged back out into the walkways, because even though I do try to wear shoes because of the fire ants, I do like to go barefoot too from time to time. You touch grass, you got to ground yourself. So let me drag my branches over here of this stuff to show you how I deal with it. Now, one thing that I usually do, especially with material that's got a little bit of juiciness to it, like the Tithonia here, is I will let it sit on the ground and dry out, like I've done with these pieces here. You can run it through a little wet, but it can gum up the gears a little bit in here, and it's not too friendly. But let's have a look at how this stuff gets chewed down. Yeah, you could probably hear that boom, 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 boom. That's that situation I was telling you about, where those branches that are just a little bit thicker, harder material and have an angle to them, it's not always very friendly with those. But yeah, this material here, you know what, I'll let y'all see it coming out of the actual machine here. I'm gonna reposition the camera. Okay, are y'all ready? I'm gonna scoot the older material to the side here. And let's start. So there you go. There's a little bit of a view of the material coming out. And again, not that this is meant to be a review of this machine, but another reason that I really like it is that, oh, I would say it's probably the safest of the machines because it just doesn't pull the material down in a way that like you could get your hands down in there. I'm not telling you to stick your hands in there. You will see me do things that look very risky with this machine. I'll kind of shove my hands in there, but the blade is down here. So I'd have to stick my whole forearm in there to get my fingers down to the point where they could be, you know, in danger. So I do play a little bit fast and loose with this thing. I'm not saying I'm trying to get my fingers chopped off, but let me show you like the thing that I think is very safe about this machine. So if you notice, it doesn't pull the material into it automatically. It chops it as it's pulling it down. So you can easily pull things back out as they're being cut, and it really doesn't hold on to the material. Now, some things that are a lot more fibrous that don't cut into little pieces as easily, things in the mallow family typically, so hibiscus, Turk's cap, and things like that, those tend to, also the Confederate rose, those tend to actually get pulled down a little bit more, but you can still typically yank them out if there's a problem. So that is something to keep in mind about this one. I really like this machine. Honestly, it was only like $150, and I might buy a second one just to have it on hand in case this one breaks down, because I like it that much, and it's going to be a part of my cleanup every year, just no matter what. So this is what I do here, and you know what? There's a spot here that needs some mulch, so let's have a look at that. All right, so I've been cleaning this little area here up in preparation for maybe planting some things here next year. I do have some things. Got a canna lily. There's a persimmon tree here. Of course, my weeping willow is a little bit too close to all of this, but this is going to basically be a shade garden. I've got a lantana, some random pecans coming up everywhere because there are like 10 big pecan trees near here. But this doesn't have to be too complicated. I mean, basically, I'll just take this and throw it in a pile. Sometimes I'll get down here with a rake, or sometimes I'll just get on my hands and knees and kind of spread stuff around. And that's really it. I mean, that's how I process all of my plant material now, and I've got plenty to process. So, you know, this is one of my things that I kind of do for fun, is I'll run around and prune things that are in the way of walkways and just mulch them up and add to the biomass in the garden and the feeding aspect. Because anything that you put down here like this is essentially becoming food for the plants that are here. So that's what I love about the Tithonias and my other fast growing plants, but also even the weedy trees like the mulberries that pop up. It's super, super easy to just go prune off the nuisance branches and bring them over here and make mulch for an area. Well, I guess that's Sunday. I was going to probably show a little bit more in this video, but I think I've reached my good little time limit threshold. This is probably a good 20 to 30 minute video. I just haven't been in the mood to record anything, but I really want to get on here and show things. I've been focused on other things, like, you know, this mess that you see here. This is a really good thing. This is less of a garden thing and more of a house thing. But in the little wooden fenced-in area behind me, there was a hot tub that came with this house, and I was never interested in the hot tub. It was someone else who lived with us who was, and when they moved out, I was like, nope, I don't want this here. So it has taken us a whole year after they moved out to get it done, but this week we got that hot tub out of there finally, and now This area can be used as kind of a second greenhouse, and I'm so excited about it. But yeah, I've got a little bit of, these are the things that were stored behind the hot tub, and I've got to find a place for them now. Well, anyways, yeah, I guess that's today's video. Hopefully I won't take too long to post the next one, but for now, see ya.